take it back to 95 before we had this drama in our lives. Just staring at.
Hey, welcome back everyone. Today we are talking about nutrition, and I'm specifically going to talk about how I can consume 3,700 to 4,000 calories a day and still stay lean year round. I'm not talking bulking, I'm not talking cutting, I'm talking maintenance for myself. I want to dive into how I set that up, how your blueprint on how you would set that up for yourself might be different, but let's dive into some of the specifics about how I structure my day, eating, movement, and exercise so that I can continue to burn hot, eat a lot, and maintain a body that I love, that fuels me, feels energetic, and doesn't get me down because I'm under eating and in a caloric deficit all the time. Let's check it out together. Okay, one of the tips that I want to start with is talking my way through each one of my meals today, and that is specifically around protein. I eat 3,700 calories a day. That's what I'm eating on this specific day, and I'm going to show you a full day of eating. And what I always focus on, first and foremost, on every single plate is protein. I consume 220 grams of protein per day, which is around 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. I weigh 182 pounds most mornings. I haven't fluctuated much for the last 6 months of my life. So 220 grams of protein is roughly 880 calories per day just coming from my protein. Protein is an extremely important macronutrient when you're trying to stay lean year round. Eating more protein is going to keep you more satiated. It's going to support lean tissue. And the thermic effect of food is how much it costs energetically to just digest food. Protein has a high thermic effect of food. If you can consume more protein of your total caloric intake every single day, you're going to get an increased energetic output just digesting that food. So tip number one for maintaining lean tissue and a lean physique year round while not having to deprive yourself is to get your protein numbers up. Now, 1.2 grams per pound of body weight is pretty high. That's because I do a lot of resistance training, I like to move every day, and because I have determined for myself how to get 220 grams of protein into my diet without having to do things that seem out of my comfort zone. Whereas for many clients that I've worked with, and for many of you out there, the idea of consuming that much protein seems outrageous. So a good rule of thumb for you to start with is take your body weight in pounds, and you're going to multiply that by 0.85 or by 0.1, somewhere in that range. 0.85 if you've got perhaps a little bit more body fat to lose to start with, and 1 if you're already on the moderate to lean side of things. That's going to give you your total grams of protein per day that you should be trying to hit. And as you can see throughout all of my meals today, I always center it around some form of protein. For breakfast, it might have been eggs. At lunch, we had some bison. We had some salami on a sandwich in the mid-afternoon. And then for dinner, we're going to try turkey. And you might be saying to me, hey Marcus, I don't really want to eat that much protein at breakfast. I don't know how to get 50 grams of protein for breakfast or 40 grams of protein for breakfast. I'm usually eating oatmeal and more carbohydrate-based breakfast foods. This is a common question, and one of the things that I like to teach people over time is that while the adjustment period early on is going to be difficult, ultimately we can train our bodies to adapt to anything. And ultimately I want you to feel your best and look your best. And I would challenge you for 30 days to try and get 40 to 50 grams of protein for breakfast to start your day as a way of seeing what it feels like to start to change the macronutrient ratio in your breakfast. I think this is a key to long-term body composition maintenance, weight maintenance, and it's something that the late Charles Poliquin believed in so deeply, one of the best strength coaches and body composition coaches of all time. He always had meat and fat for breakfast. It was meat and nuts for breakfast. So give it a try. 30-day challenge, get your 40 to 50 grams of protein. Okay, tip number 2. This comes down to the quality of food that you eat. So today's message is you do not have to calorically deprive yourself all the time in order to maintain a lean physique. You might have to actually do some caloric deprivation or some caloric restriction in order to lose body fat and to get down to a target body composition or weight. But the ultimate goal is to eat as much as you possibly can while maintaining the physique and the look and the energy levels that you want. This is important because it gives you metabolic flexibility. It allows you at any point to say, okay, I've been eating 2,500 calories and that's keeping me energetic and I feel good about my body. And if you want to decrease that number at some point to change your body composition, you can. So that's why I try and run as hot as possible with 37 to 4,000 calories of food per day, because it supports this body, it supports my activity, and it supports the look that I want. And should I want to change that look over time and maybe lean out even further, I have the room, the wiggle room, the flexibility to lower that caloric requirement that I have. Now, back to the second point, which is the quality of your food. You can get 3,700 calories from a lot of different places. And ultimately, the caloric intake is what matters the most when it comes to body composition and weight. If you're eating more, you're going to have a harder time keeping that weight consistent. If you're eating less, you're going to start to see maybe a decrease in body weight. And if you're eating at your caloric maintenance, that's when you sustain lean tissue, energy, and your body. Now, for me, one of the ways that I'm able to eat more food is by increasing the quality of the food that I'm eating. So if you take highly processed foods versus whole foods, one of the big differences between digesting those two types of foods comes back to that thermogenesis of actually digesting. Now, I mentioned this in the protein conversation. The same thing goes for eating a big bowl of broccoli versus a cup of table sugar. If you take equivalent amounts of calories from these two different energy sources or these two different food sources, the higher quality whole food ingredient that's minimally processed is going to require a bit more energy to digest. It's the chewing, it's the breaking down in the stomach, it's the enzymatic activity that's happening in your digestive system. Over time, I'm talking long time, weeks, months, years, of eating high quality nutrients versus low quality nutrients, that thermogenesis that's comes from actually digesting the food is going to add up to something considerable over time, and it's going to allow you to eat more fulfilling foods, a more wholesome volume of food over time to keep your lean mass and to make you continue to look the way you want to look. So I always opt for quality ingredients, and I'm actually showing you my food haul for the week. We order from Imperfect Produce. We get this big box. Matter of fact, we got 2 big boxes this week. All of this organic and locally sourced whole ingredients. There's vegetables, there's fruit, there's meats, lots of things that we can put together to make meals. We're not buying a lot of processed food, and you won't see a lot of processed food in our house. And that 98% of all the food that we're eating is minimally processed to take advantage of this. The one other thing that I think is super important to be able to eat a lot of food and stay lean over time is that we're finding what our maintenance calories are. And then by eating high quality foods that are minimally processed, we can actually have really good appetite control. It's hard to control how much you want to eat of something that's extremely processed with high sugar content in it and high salt content in it. When you eat those types of foods, it reinforces wanting to have more of them, and you can easily overeat your maintenance calories if you do that. So stick to high quality foods. That's tip number 2. Okay, moving into tip number 3. Contrary to what popular belief is out there and what you see on Instagram, I do not work out all day, every day. As a matter of fact, I actually work out on average between 60 to 90 minutes per day. And that could be weight training, or it could be mountain biking, or it could be a combination of me going for long walks or something like that. So I do get structured movement for 60 to 90 minutes on average every single day. Outside of that, I do like to keep up my activity in other ways, like getting a little bit of movement in the morning, on the treadmill just to wake up the body, maybe standing up at my standing desk behind me, perhaps taking a break after each meal and going for a 10-minute walk outside, doing some stretching, being on my feet. That's how I keep my energy up. Why do my output up? And why do I even have energy to do that? Because I eat a lot of food. If I was in a caloric deficit all the time and restricting my calories, I wouldn't want to move during those moments during the day where I have opportunities to do it. I'd want to sit around. So fueling yourself with more food means you can burn a little bit hotter. You can take advantage of opportunities out there to get your activity in. Now, one of the common pitfalls I see is that when people are estimating how much food they're supposed to eat on a given day, they will often overestimate how active they are. They will go into the online calculators and they will say, I'm a super active person because I work out 5 times a week. If you work out 5 times a week for 60 to 90 minutes, we're talking 5 to 7.5 hours of the entire week that you're actually doing purposeful exercise. Those activity calculators within these caloric estimators, they take much more into account what your entire week looks like. Those 7 hours of training do not impact the total caloric intake needs that you have for the week that much. It's a small portion of what you're actually putting out metabolically. For me, it's my basal metabolism, it's the thermic effect of food, it's the activity that I do outside of my training, it's being active, it's maintaining lean muscle mass. Those are the things that drive my metabolism up, not the 75 minutes of training. Granted, that adds to it, but it is not the most contributing factor to my total caloric intake. So when you're doing this estimation, I want you to be thinking about, what am I actually doing in my day? When you estimate your calories on food calculators, you got to be thinking, am I really sedentary? I work out for an hour a day, but then I just sit at my desk all day. You're probably a low to very low activity or sedentary person if you're in that category. Now, don't take offense to this. This doesn't mean that you don't train hard, and it doesn't mean that you're not an athletic person. It means that your total energy expenditure relative to your needs is actually a little bit lower than you're estimating. So we want to get accurate measurements of what you're actually supposed to eat. And the best way to do that is through either tracking your food closely or through going through an online estimator calculator, which you can see in the description below. There are 2 different ones that I trust. You want to be really mindful of not putting in too much activity, because then it might tell you this is your caloric maintenance, which is maybe too high. We want to get roughly in the right spot. So I have played with this calculation over time. I tend to do best when I put in high activity, but as you can see, it's because I'm constantly moving. I'm moving throughout my day. I'm an active person. If I sat at this desk all day, every day, outside of my workouts, I'd probably have to go to moderate activity level or even low activity level on calorie estimators. We're finding opportunities throughout the day to be more active. And I wanted to show this one example. I took a meeting today with my business partner, Satya. And as you can see, I brought the bike erg out onto the patio. Now the bike erg has this little attachment that I purchased from ErgDesk, which just sits right on top of the console, and it creates a little flat surface. So I prop up my iPad, I'm able to talk to her while I'm just doing a slow pedal, I'm getting some sunshine. So in an hour-long meeting, I was able to bike consistently at a moderate to low pace, just enough so I could stay moving, but also be really engaged in the conversation. So I took a work meeting on the bike. You know, whatever I burned in the way of calories, it wasn't important. I just wanted to be out there moving some blood and getting a little extra activity in my day. And I wouldn't count that towards my traditional exercise regimen or how many hours I exercise, because it wasn't intense. It was just movement. Now this beats sitting at a desk and being stagnant and sitting down. It also keeps my body feeling good. So find little opportunities in your day to inject a little bit more activity. If the thought of doing more activity like that is like, whoa, I don't have the energy for it, then this is another reason to come back to your baseline calorie intake and think, maybe I'm eating too little and I don't have enough to support the energy that I want to be out there moving. Okay, coming into tip number 4. So here you're watching me conduct the food prep around lunchtime. Now lunch was bison, Brussels sprouts, butter, had a glass of water, and then I had a little bit of sauce that I put on top, which was a tangy, sweet treat, my steak sauce, my signature steak sauce that Ice Age Meals is making. What I want to talk about in this segment is that people often ask me, hey, Marcus, do you have cheat days? Do you have, what are your cheat foods? What's your favorite cheat food? And what I like to tell people is that, look, I do indulge in foods like pizza and ice cream and a cookie periodically. And it's not something that I think about all the time. When I'm thinking about treat foods all the time, it's a sign that I'm not eating enough food. I'm calorically restricted. When I'm calorically restricted, my brain is thinking, I need to get some more food to eat. Where can I find that? And that should be an indicator to you that you need to bump up your maintenance calories. I like to think of cheats as treats because they're intentional. Cheating to me falls into the category of like, I'm breaking the rules. I shouldn't have done this. And part of the long-term maintenance of this process of staying at a healthy body composition and a healthy weight and staying lean year round means you got to take treats and you got to be doing it intentionally. So when I do that, yeah, like I said, I like to indulge in a couple different things. But what people need to understand is that the higher the quality of food that you eat on a consistent basis, the more you get processed stuff out, the more consistent you are with eating a good maintenance level of calories, not too little, a good maintenance level, and eating whole foods like the ones you saw in our grocery haul, the less you're going to have cravings for cheats. You're not going to feel like cheating. You will make an intentional treat, but you won't feel like cheating and falling off. So this is going to certainly help you over time stay at a consistent level of caloric intake with high quality foods, with high protein. This is all going to maintain lean tissue and a lean body composition year round. So keep in mind, if you're thinking about cheat foods all the time, it means that you're under eating way too much. Your brain is sending you signals to survive. It's saying, hey, you haven't had enough calories in a while. Please go out, get something that's easy to extract calories from, like ice cream or pizza or beer. All right, finishing up with tip number 5. Now I'm getting into cooking dinner, and what I like to say to all of my clients when we start out is not only is consistency important, but rhythm is important. When do you do the things that you do in your day? And how consistent is that rhythm? Do you wake up at the same time? Do you go to bed at the same time? Do you eat breakfast at the same time? Do you eat lunch at the same time? Do you eat dinner at the same time? These are critical. Do you happen to get your workouts at the same time? Now, I know that everyone has stressful lives, different lives, and some people have less ability to control their lifestyle than others. If you're in a situation, and I would encourage you to really work on this, getting down to consistent rhythms where you do the same things at the same times per day is massively helpful in helping you maintain a healthy body weight, be able to eat more and still stay at a lean body composition. And this has been one of my secrets to success for a long time, both in sports performance and in the look good, move well lifestyle of functional bodybuilding. I wake up at the same time and I go to bed at the same time. Does this change throughout the year? Slightly. My breakfast might change to a different time. My bedtime might move back by 30 minutes or up by 30 minutes. A lot of this is dependent upon where the sun is during the day and during the time of year. So right now we're getting into spring, summer's around the corner, the sun is up for a little bit more time. I've extended the hours that I'm awake and my eating window when I'm awake. So I make some small adjustments, but really on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't change. It changes maybe on a quarterly basis by small margins. So dinner's going to happen at the same time. Lunch is going to happen at the same time. My workout's going to happen at the same time. Eventually, my poop happens at the same time. You know, my energy levels at certain times of day, they have a consistent rhythm and I can expect them. I will get tired at the exact same time every single night. When our bodies know what to expect, when they're not guessing all the time, stress levels come down. Stress levels coming down means that our body is not going to hold on to nutrients and excess fat and excess water. It's going to release that stuff. You're going to start to process your food better. You're going to extract nutrients better. You're going to have better digestion, and it's going to lower certain hormone levels like cortisol so that your body fat can release and you can use that for energy. So absolutely important is creating rhythm. My dinner's at the same time. And so for this dinner, I'm making sure that it's happening a couple hours before the sun starts to go down. That's when I find it optimal for me to have my last meal of the day. I'm engaging a little bit with the people around me. That way, when it comes time to be with my family, I'm not trying to put together 10 different things for all the different people that are eating late into the night, which is messing with my rhythms as well as my family's rhythms. So find rhythm so that you can stay consistent. And if you can do it for 30 days, wake up and go to bed at the same time, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the exact same time, and schedule your movement session, whether it's just getting some activity or an actual exercise session at the same time. I promise you, you will see a dramatic change to how you look and feel by the end of those 30 days. All right, so I hope this helped you today. I'm going to link some information in the description below, and go ahead and check out some of those links. There's going to be some information in there, but most importantly, I want you guys to go and get onto my email list. There is a free nutrition and training download that you'll get the moment you sign up for my email list. We're going to be sending you things that are going to hopefully help you have more consistency, make smarter decisions, and ultimately be able to eat more while maintaining the body that you want. I do not want you out there depriving yourself of calories and quality good food because you're chasing this dream of a more lean, lighter body than you've had before. It might take a little bit of that to get there. You might need to do some hard work, and you might need to play the consistency game with restriction, but ultimately long term, we want you to be fueling yourself so that you're energetic, so that your workouts are great, and that you look great. So please, join me next time as I give you more tips for functional bodybuilding lifestyle, both nutrition and workouts. Hit that thumbs up button if this helped you out, and don't forget to subscribe so that we can stay connected as we move forward. Thanks for joining me.